Hello everyone and welcome to the Distinct Mastering YouTube channel. My name is Freddie. Today we're going to be getting into something different. I don't often use all of the Ableton effects and instruments, and I got some requests for Ableton instruments, so I kind of been thinking for a little while to do a whole series on all of the Ableton effects and instruments. So this is going to be the first one. It's going to be on amp and cabinet since they kind of go hand in hand. I'll admit it's definitely one that I was not exploring and I just used it today in a track and I thought I'd share it with you. So let's get right into the video. Now, just to remind you, I just launched my YouTube and Patreon memberships, so if you want more bonus content, please check the links below. For the creator package this week, I'm going to include a few little presets that I created with the cabinet and amp in one of my sessions and a bonus video to go along with that, so check that out. Now, if you're feeling the track in the background, it's also a new one on our label NOS Recordings, and it's Erick Diaz, I'll Be Waiting. The links to that are down below if you'd like to go support. And now, without further ado, let's get right into the amp and cabinet plugins by Ableton. Okay, I've got a very basic session here with just two guitar samples, both electric and a live bass. And we're gonna start with the electric guitar here. And basically, I'm just gonna go ahead and turn off the amp and cabinet and play these for you so you can get an idea of what they sound like. So that's what those sound like. Now, taking a look down below here at the amp. So the way that these are designed is they're designed to go hand in hand, but you can still use one or the other or both. So the amp is supposed to simulate an amplifier, an amp head for a guitar or bass player. Now, obviously, you're probably going to use this on live guitar or bass. I'm not a player, so I didn't have a need for these plugins for the longest time, but today I actually used them in a different session and they proved to be pretty handy. I used it on a guitar sample and on a bass sample. So make sure to check out the member section. I have a private video for you in that area all about that. Now, just to give you an overview of the amp, basically you have different options down here. You have clean, boost, blues, rock, lead, heavy, and then you have your bass cab. And these are pretty self-explanatory. You know, you can get the kind of style and genre you're going for based on these categories. And then you have a gain knob, you have a simple 3-band EQ, you have a presence knob, and then you have your output, which can be dual stereo or mono, a volume knob, and a dry wet knob, which is pretty interesting. Now with the cabinet, you have different speaker options, and notice the bass down here. So you have a 1x12, 2x12, 4x12, and you have your microphone option, which is near on axis, near off axis, or far away. And you can choose between dynamic or condenser. And once again, you have your output in dual stereo or mono, dry wet, 0 to 100%. So that proves to be pretty interesting because it's trying to emulate classic amp heads and cabinets. Now, what could you use this for? Well, obviously you could use it for guitar, bass, but you could try it on drums, synths, play around. The options could be endless. It might be able to add some more character, grit, and a different sonic signature to your tracks. So think of it like this. The amp is basically going to give you kind of the tone, and then the cabinet's going to help refine it or give you somewhat of a room characteristic based on the microphone choice and the speaker type you pick. So you can play around and just have different tonal control over your sound. Another thing you might do is put an EQ after it to then further shape the sound. Obviously, that's a pretty common thought process, but for the beginners, think about things like that. If it adds too much of one element, you can throw an EQ after and before, but the after is going to give you the shaping controls after the fact. So let me give you an example of what this thing sounds like. These things are pretty basic plugins. They're not super hard to use. Let's start with this first guitar loop, and I'm just going to loop this first one. So here's before. So it sounds further away. Turning this on the clean, and it instantly just put it more in your face, more up front. Let's turn the cabinet off. So you can control the gain, how much you're going to drive the unit, give you more grit and distortion. Then you can turn down the volume. That way you gain stage it. So let's drive it pretty hard. Let's go 8. And then... there we go, that's not bad. Okay, now I'm gonna flip through these so you can hear what they sound like. And then you have your bass. So, you know, those all have different characters, different tones. And then you can further define the sound by this output. See, now I have a stereo signal, which obviously if I'm using a guitar or a bass, they're not stereo instruments, so you want to be working in mono, but this can give you just more options. Now the question I have is this... so phase correlation is okay. It's not going out of phase. From here you have the dry wet, so we're back to 0. And then you can further shape the controls here. And check out this presence. It's interesting. Okay, now let's turn on the cabinet. Now remember, you can actually just use the cabinet. I noticed the pickup, the microphone type makes a big difference. And then this is going to make it sound far away. And once again, that's kind of cool. It gives it like a nice room tone. Let's combine this with the amp. Now, just a pro tip, if you want to turn these on and off without having to select both of them, just group them. I just selected them, holding shift by clicking both of them and holding shift, and then hitting Command G to group them up, and now I have it on a rack. So this is what we started with. And here is and maybe I feel that's too much, so I could just back off the dry wet. And then here is before. So it's pretty cool what you can do with this thing. Let's play around with this second guitar here. You also might want to pay attention to all of the presets that they have for this. So let's go ahead and just drop in a blues drive. And you can see that this one with the same cabinet we had. Let's change this to a 4x12. So we started with this, real subdued, sounds far away, way more warmth, way more color. Super cool to play with this. I've kind of been sleeping on this one. Okay, so now I'm going to get into this bass. So I have the same amp and cabinet off. This is before. Instantly, it's just way more fat, way more in your face. Now let's turn on the cabinet and go down to the bass. Obviously for bass, you're probably going to want to leave this mono. I'm going to show you what the cabinet and amp plugins I have on my tracks are doing so you can hear. And if you want the full story, check out the member section. So first, on one of the layers of the bass, I will play this track for you just so you can hear what it sounds like without the amp and cabinet. this is what it sounds like. Now turning on my rack, once again, here's before and then after. So you can see it really just helps it bury it into the track, but still gives it the oomph and power that I want. It's less mid-range heavy before, so if you want the full story, I'm going to make a private video for the member section. Make sure to check the links down below, and if you want the rack, check out the Patreon. Now moving into this breakdown section, I'm going to loop this here. I also have another rack on the guitar, and I'm just going to play this. So this track is still in development. I just started it, but you know, little things like this I like to share with you guys. And here's the guitar with let's mute this vocal. It's kind of a temp vocal right now. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep that. And then here's before. So it really helps bring that out. So yes, these two little Ableton plugins are great. Obviously, if you're a guitar player, bass player, these are going to be very handy for you. But don't let that stop you if you're an electronic music producer like me. Now, just to remind you, I did use these in my track today, and I'm going to be giving away the presets for both the amp and cabinet and a little Ableton rack that I created to utilize them with some macros, and it's just a unique way to use it, and I'm going to make a video on that as well. So make sure you check out the membership section. Links are down below. Just to remind you, if you like the song that's playing in the background, it's a new one on our label Nos Recordings. You can support that with the links down below as well. My name is Freddie from Distinct Mastering, aka Freshkovar. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, please consider following my channel, hitting that subscribe button. The bell notification will keep you up to date. Dropping me a comment down below, let me know what you guys want to see, and I appreciate all of your support. Thank you so much. Have a good day. Peace.